So hey everybody, welcome to Tequila and Terror. I think it's episode 12.
12-ish?
12, sounds good.
12-ish.
We're both in a food coma right now. We just ate, I guess...
Pepsi restaurant.
The best way to describe this, I think Keisha said, was if the Walmart Supercenter had a catfish buffet in the middle of it.
Yeah, it was the most interesting experience of my life, and I'm not entirely sure that I enjoyed it.
I had a little kid run between my legs in the buffet line.
I'm not a fan of buffets anyways, but if you have a kid try to attack your legs in the middle of it, that's a sign that we need to leave.
My belly is still full of catfish, frog legs, crawfish, and any other little creature that slithers or crawls across the delta.
So like that child earlier?
Yeah, I could have ate that kid. Nobody would miss it.
We don't eat children.
Oh, I bought some meth in the bathroom.
No.
Yeah. That's a pretty sketchy looking.
You didn't even go to the bathroom. But it was disgusting.
It was also really good though at the same time, so it's weird.
Speak for yourself, buddy.
I liked it.
I know you do. You're a sucker for
an experience. That's what it's like. Meth Head Disneyland is where we ate dinner at.
You're a sucker for catfish that is just as catfish in general.
Like chicken. You buy chicken at the sketchiest place you can find, and just like catfish, it's always good.
I just have my mom cook it next time and we'll be good.
Yeah, that'd probably be smarter.
That would be a lot safer.
Wouldn't feel like I'm gonna have a heart attack right now.
I wouldn't feel like we were, chock full of diseases.
Yeah, I'm sorry if you hear burps, but now we're full of booze and catfish.
And probably Hep C.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Hep A, Hep B, Hep C, Hep D.
All the Heps.
And
whatever disease you get from uncooked catfish.
Food poisoning.
Yeah.
Well,
thanks for listening to Catfish Talk, everybody. We enjoy.
This is Catfish Talk with Key and West.
I just clicked the record button a long time ago, so...
Yeah, he thought that I was being humorous with my snorts.
Yeah, her snorty snoots is what I like to call them.
Dear sweet baby Jesus, y'all.
Oh.
All right. Okay.
I guess you can say welcome to Tequila and Terror again in case I decide to cut all the rest of that out, but I think I'll keep it.
Welcome to Tequila and Terror.
There you go.
It's episode 12.
Or 11.
Or whatever number it is.
It's an episode.
Thanks for listening.
We should be better at this by now.
Thanks for dealing with our crap. We're difficult. Yeah. So I am actually discussing something that we have seen in person before. Big shocker. At Zak Bagans Haunted Museum.
I'm glad old Zak exists because without him, half our content would be gone.
No, we would just be talking about things that we didn't know anything about.
That's true.
And hadn't seen in person.
Yeah.
He centralized all of these items so that we could discuss them at a later date.
And see them all.
Yeah.
I wish Zak would fly us back out there to visit that place again because I would go tomorrow.
I mean, we would be BFFs.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, we make fun of him, but he's pretty cool.
He's one of my favorite people in the world.
We love to hate him and we hate to love him.
I've been watching his show so long, I feel like he's a little brother.
Oh, God. Is he younger than you? I think.
He's got to be younger than me. I'm old.
Let's use the Google real quick.
Yeah.
Zak Bagans' age. Oh, somebody typed in address. He's 41, so he's older than you.
He's older than me.
Yeah.
So,
He's older than you. All right. So we are actually going to discuss the Dybbuk box.
Whoa, that's awesome.
The haunted wine cabinet.
It's pretty awesome. We've changed up the seating arrangement here, and now I'm sitting across from Keisha, and I get to see her smile.
He gets to stare at my beautiful face.
It's so cute.
And then he gets to smell my wonderful burps.
Yeah, that's something. Woo, it's catfish all over again.
Actually, I was just tired of being next to his farts.
I'm sad you're not over here for this.
All right, so the word Dybbuk the word...
God. If you're still listening at this point.
Booze.
Yeah.
The word Dybbuk itself comes from a Yiddish word meaning to adhere or cling.
I feel that most of the time we speak Yiddish.
No, that's not. No.
Oh, it's gibberish.
That's yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go. There you go, buddy. In Jewish mythology, a Dybbuk is known as a malicious spirit that has possessed a person or an item to complete unfinished business. Sometimes the spirit will leave after the goal has been accomplished, and sometimes an exorcism is required. And as you and I have, seen, discussed, watched, apparently sometimes exorcisms don't take the first time, and you have to do them multiple times. So
it seems like it's more common for somebody to have to be exorcised multiple times.
We had no idea, y'all. It's the learning experience. We learn something new every day.
You just burped outside the microphone.
Yeah, I did. At least it wasn't loud.
I just thought it was interesting being a Jew, and I know nothing about Jews or Jewish religion or whatever. I didn't know Jewish people got exorcised. I mean, not like riding bikes and treadmills, but like getting demons out of them.
Okay, for starters, you don't ride treadmill.
That's true. You don't, do you? Well, whatever you do on a treadmill.
There are so many things that were wrong about that sentence, so we're just going to move on.
Yeah, that's probably best. We don't dwell on that one.
Oh, God, Wesley. All right. The Dybbuk box was brought to America by a woman by the name of Havela.
I like that name.
Havela was the only person from her family who survived the concentration camp they were sent to during World War II.
Holy shit, that got dark fast.
Supposedly.
Such a sexy sounding name, though.
Havela. I'm just change my name. Her parents, brother, sister, husband, and 3 children, 2 sons and a daughter, were all killed during the Holocaust.
Ooh.
Havela survived by escaping with other prisoners to Spain, where she lived until the end of the war, and also where she acquired the Dybbuk box. When she came to America, she brought 3 items with her: the small wine cabinet we now call the Dybbuk box, a steamer trunk, and a sewing box.
So did she just buy this at a yard sale or something? Or?
We're just gonna steam on past that.
Okay. Sorry.
In September of 2001 in Portland, Oregon, Kevin Manis, an antiques collector who owned a furniture refinishing business, went to an estate sale of a woman, Havela, who had passed away at the age of 103. This woman lived for frickin' ever. 103 years old.
Oh, yeah, that's a long time. Some shit. Yeah.
Kevin purchased the wine cabinet as well as the sewing box and some other furniture. He spoke with Havela's granddaughter after the purchase had been made and learned a little bit about her past. During the conversation, she stated that her grandmother had kept the Dybbuk box out of reach and always kept it closed, and told her it was to never be opened due to having a Dybbuk in it. Oh. But she also said, I don't know what a Dybbuk is. Of course. So, of course, he's just like, all right, whatever. I don't know what a Dybbuk is, but it's not opened. Cool. You're going to learn a lot about Kevin here soon.
Kevin, you said. If you're a long-time listener of the show, you know that we have met multiple dumb Kevins.
Oh, God, we have.
Yeah.
I used to have a stalker named Kevin.
Really?
Yeah, that was creepy.
I'm going to say I've met a couple of smart Kevins now, but overall, the Kevin population is still dumber than average population.
If you are a Kevin and you are smart, we applaud you. We commend you.
Good job, buddy.
Please train the rest of your people.
Yeah.
All right. So.
A long-time listener with 11 episodes in.
Yeah, we love you. We love you. You are great, Kevin. You know, we're rooting for you, Kevin.
This could be 12. We're calling you dumb, and I can't even count to 12 or 11.
Count to 12, dude. Okay. So. The granddaughter actually stated that Havela had asked that the box be buried with her, but that request was not honored because it went against the rules of an Orthodox Jewish burial. As an Orthodox Jew, if you're being buried, like, Orthodox Jewish burial, you can't have tattoos, you can't have, like, there are certain things to be buried.
I'd be screwed, wouldn't I?
You would be real screwed.
I can't grow a beard, and I have tattoos.
I don't think the beard has anything to do with it.
Oh, yeah, never mind. I was...
Dude. You have face fur. It's just not full. It's okay. Okay, so, Kevin...
Wait, plus I've been circumcised. Is that a Jewish thing, or is that...
I don't think we need to tell everybody about your dick.
Well, is that what Jewish people do?
I don't know. That's awkward.
I don't know if maybe... I thought they were the ones that were against it. Maybe they're the ones that are for it.
I don't remember. I'm not Jewish.
Yeah, it's true. You're Pentecostal. Or Baptist, that's what it is.
No, my dad's Baptist.
Yeah.
I go to an Episcopal church.
That's right. You don't eat fish.
That's pescatarian.
Yeah.
We do eat fish on Fridays because it's Lent. Okay, so Kevin had actually offered to let her keep the box because he thought it had been a sentimental keepsake. He was like, no, dude, like, I know I paid for it. You don't have to give me the money back. Just keep it. It seems like it's important to your family. She was like, no, you bought it. You keep it. Which is sign number one. That maybe he should have just dumped it on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Like, there's something up and Kevin doesn't see it.
But if you dump it, it seems like it'd make the spirit even more mad. Do I have something on my face?
No, I had to scratch.
Oh, okay.
Lord Jesus.
Sorry.
He shook it off thinking that she was just, going through a lot with her grandmother passing, and then he left with the items that he had purchased. He took the cabinet to his store, put it in the workshop in the basement, and left to run errands while a sales clerk looked after the store for him. 30 minutes or so later, he got a call from the sales clerk, who was hysterical. She stated that someone was in the workshop breaking glass and swearing, stating that the intruder locked the iron safety gates and emergency exit and she could not leave. He arrived to find her in the floor crying. He went downstairs, was like, okay, what's going on? Smelled cat urine, which was strange because he had never had animals in his workshop. And he found that the lights would not work as a result of all of the bulbs having been broken.
Wow.
Which explains the breaking glass that the saleswoman heard. There were 19 bulbs total that had broken, which is a crap ton of bulbs. Different kinds, like the big, long, fluorescent-y bulbs, regular light bulbs. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
All kinds of different bulbs. When he returned upstairs to discuss the incident with the salesperson, she had left, and she never returned to work and still refuses to speak about that day.
Wow, that's pretty weird.
And he was fine with it.
He was fine with it?
He was like, it's weird, but stuff happens.
Well,
Sign two that Kevin probably should have seen. That this
you
is
remember that time
cabinet.
That cat peed on my car windshield and months later we still smell it?
Yeah.
I wonder if that could be a cat peed in there somewhere.
I don't know.
I'm just trying to debunk a little bit.
I mean, maybe a cat peed on the cabinet, but we'll get to that later.
Okay.
Kevin decided that he would give the cabinet to his mother as a gift for her birthday. He decided that he was going to refinish it. So he opened it and found a 1928 U.S. wheat penny, a 1925 U.S. wheat penny, a small lock of blonde hair tied with a string, a small lock of brown hair tied with a string, a small granite statue engraved and gilded with Hebrew letters that has been told to spell out the word shalom, a dried rosebud, one golden wine cup, and a strange black cast iron candlestick holder with octopus legs.
Wow.
I was a little upset about that because it does not look as cool as I thought it would. The octopus leg thing.
That sounds awesome. I didn't know that anybody even knew what was inside it.
Yeah, that he opened it up.
Wow.
Like, he legit...
That's cool.
Like, he
I did
got
not
everything
know
out
that.
of it. Because he was going to, like, redo the whole thing. He saved the items, intending to return them to the family, but the family refused. Sign 3.
Oh, Kevin.
There's something going on there. At this point, you would think he would be like, listen, the family obviously doesn't want this stuff that was their grandma's. Something's, going on that's a little fishy. This thing is obviously haunted. Maybe I should Google the word Dybbuk. No. Dude is completely oblivious. I'm concerned for him. Once he opened up the cabinet, he decided not to refinish it, after all, and simply cleaned it up. He, oiled it up. Lemon oil, tried to preserve the wood. His mom came to the shop to receive her gift on the day that they were going to celebrate her birthday, and she seemed to like it. Kevin stepped out of the room to make a phone call and stated that not even 5 minutes later, employees were coming to get him, stating something was wrong with his mom. When he returned, she was sitting in a chair beside the cabinet with tears streaming down her face, unresponsive.
Oh, wow.
They took her to the hospital and found out that she had had a stroke.
Shit.
She suffered partial paralysis and temporarily lost her ability to speak, but was able to point at words, at letters, and form words. So she could spell it Hi Kevin, Hikevin.
Hi Kevin, you're dumb.
So Kevin asked her the next day how she was doing, and she spelled out Nogift, no gift. And he was like, no, Mom, I did get you a gift. Don't you remember? It was that wine cabinet that you liked, right? It happened right before you passed out, blah, 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 blah. And she spelled out hate gift.
Wow.
So she remembered. She just knew that it had to do with her
That's
issue.
Crazy.
He apologized. He stated he would get her something else, and he still didn't think any paranormal or weird stuff was happening. Kevin's a little oblivious.
But you wouldn't think right away that this little cabinet was causing all this.
Okay, but listen, I would.
Yeah.
But I'm paranoid.
Yeah, that's true.
And weird stuff happens to me. Kevin gave the cabinet to his sister because why not? She gave the cabinet back after a week, stating that the doors kept coming open. Kevin was like, well, there are no springs in the doors, and they never came open for me, but I'll take it back, whatever. Got a little sassy about it.
Kevin is just the ultimate regifter.
He really is. Yeah. He really is. So he took it back and then gave it to his brother and his brother's wife. His brother and his sister-in-law kept it for 3 days before giving it back.
God.
His brother stated it smelled like jasmine, yet his wife stated it smelled like cat pee, and he had to take it back.
There's that cat pee again.
Yeah.
What's the significance to cat pee?
I don't really know.
Is that what Jewish demons smell like?
No. I don't know. I feel like it's just like a negative...
Like a demony smell.
Energy.
Because I've heard sulfur before, but...
I mean, if it's sulfur... Doesn't cat pee have sulfur in it?
I don't know. I'm not a cat pee expert.
It has something in it. It's
smells
awful.
Bad. Yeah.
It's the worst. So once he took it back, and I said, so then Kevin, being the blissfully ignorant fool he is, gave the thing to his girlfriend.
God, Kevin.
And 2 days later, she told him to sell it. He sold it to a nice middle-aged couple.
Of course he did.
And came to the shop 3 days later to find it sitting in front of the shop with a note that said, this has a bad darkness. So what does he do with it? He takes it to his own house.
Good.
Because he's a frickin' genius. Kevin, I'm sorry. You're fine. You're a fine individual. You just don't see things as clearly as I do. I hope you do now. After taking it home, he started having recurring nightmares where he would be walking with a friend that he trusts, and then he would look in their eyes. He'd look in their eyes and realize that they were evil or possessed, and they would change into a demonic hag, and the hag, quote, proceeded to beat the living far out of him. He stated he woke multiple times to find bruises and marks on himself in real life where he had been beat in his dream.
Wow.
It's a little intense. Somehow, he still didn't think it had to do anything with the cabinet. I don't know if this dude has ever seen a horror movie or not.
Yeah, he's not really catching on.
I don't think so, no. So one night in the near future, his sister and brother and his sister-in-law all stayed the night at his house. During breakfast the next morning, his sister discussed having had a terrible nightmare that it was exactly like the one that he had been having. His brother and sister-in-law sat back quietly and listened, and then stated that they had had the same nightmare during the times that they had the cabinet. He called his girlfriend to see if she remembered having a dream, and she was like, "Oh, yeah, I do remember having a dream like that, kind of, when I had that cabinet thing that you gave me."
So all these people had this nightmare, and nobody ever told the other person.
Nobody told anybody.
It's weird.
Okay, I'm sorry. I talk to you about my weird dreams all the time, and you don't even want to hear it. I'm just like, listen, crazy shit went down. So after having the discussion about the dreams with his family, he started seeing shadow things in his peripheral vision, and stated numerous visitors to his house saw them as well. He put the cabinet in an outside storage unit, but stated that smoke alarms went off during the middle of the night afterward, waking him up. He found that nothing was on fire, but there was a strong cat urine odor again. And considering he had never owned a cat, he figured it was the box and brought it back in.
Yeah, just bring the thing that smells like cat piss back into your house.
I mean, listen.
Good job, Kevin.
You know, he stated that he tried to research it on the internet, but that he passed out, had the same nightmare, and woke up around 4:30 a.m. to the feeling that someone was breathing down his neck, found that his house smelled like jasmine. Upon waking, he saw a huge shadow thing, quote-unquote, go lopping down the hallway away from him.
Jasmine was lopping down the hall.
You know what jasmine is?
It's a flower, isn't it?
Okay, yeah.
It kind of sounds like a stripper name, too, though.
Oh, I thought you were calling the demon, like, shadow thing
Well, with
jasmine.
this being Kevin, he could have been a stripper.
He wasn't.
Oh.
No. We already established that he refinished furniture, babe.
It's true. I think this is possibly our first set of stories that's not going to involve a prostitute.
You're correct, as far as I'm aware. Okay, so he thought about destroying the cabinet, but was unsure about what would happen since he's very obviously has no idea anything about paranormal anything. Smart Kevin. So he listed the item on eBay and sold it. Smart Kevin. I mean, it makes sense because people buy all kinds of like haunted dolls and stuff on eBay.
I would have bid on it.
I know you would have, and I would have killed you. Thank God I did not know you at that time. The buyer, whose name I cannot pronounce but we'll try, Losif Nitske.
Oh, Losif, you know him.
Yeah. He purchased it in 2003 for $140.
Wow.
Almost immediately, he started experiencing things as well, from electronics in his home malfunctioning, lights turning on and off by themselves, items not being where he left them, strange smells, and strange figures roaming about. He stated his hair started to fall out, and he also suffered from an insect infestation that seemingly came from nowhere. He decided enough was enough and sold the box on eBay as well, because, as we know, people buy creepy shit on eBay for S's and G's.
So Lois, he flipped this thing. What did he get for it?
Losif.
Losif.
I don't really know.
Oh.
This time the box was purchased by Jason Haxton, a museum curator who also collects religious paraphernalia from Kirksville, Missouri.
Oh, yeah.
Which is where my friend Tyler, Caitlin's fiance, is from. Which is why I actually got into this story. Because I was like, oh, hey, that's a random place to know anything about.
Yeah, random coincidence.
Yeah. And I just lost my place, so I apologize. So Jason purchased the box. He claimed to have started experiencing numerous new health issues, such as welts, rashes, and hives on his body that he had never experienced previously, constant coughing, fatigue, a metallic taste in his mouth, persistent nasal issues, and was coughing up blood.
What if he just had lung cancer?
I mean, dude's fine now.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah. He also stated he smelled the cat urine and jasmine smells.
Oh, wow.
Which is weird. Haxton said that the box, he had the box looked at by a specialist on Jewish artifacts who stated that they thought that it was a sacred relic for imprisoning a spirit. Jason is the only dude who actually seemed interested in knowing more about the box, and the spirit's origin. Although I'm sure it's just because homie wanted to write a book about it and make some dough from having to go through all of this. He actually wrote a book.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you find anything out about it?
He wanted like $15 for it.
Mm.
I don't know if that's the real price, but I wasn't paying that much. It's fine. He finally got in touch with Kevin Manis, the original owner, which then prompted Kevin to go back to Havela's grandmother and family, or granddaughter and family. Sorry, her grandma's probably dead at that point. The granddaughter got him in touch with Havela's cousin Sophie, who explained that she and Havela had used a spirit board to contact otherworldly beings, and that she had suspected that the negative energy of the impending Second World War probably attracted evil spirits. She stated that they had summoned a spirit and tried to bind it, and that they tried a second time after the war and were able to trap the spirit in the wine cabinet. She, during the discussion, she got very visibly upset and began apologizing over and over again, telling Kevin that she believes that the spirit that they summoned was the cause for World War II.
Wow.
Yeah. After learning all of this, Jason ended up going to rabbis and mystics to have rituals done to seal the spirit in so that it could never bother anyone again. Jason ended up putting the box into a military-grade shock-proof container and buried it somewhere that no one could find it, inside Kirksville, Missouri. As we know, though, anytime Zak Bagans finds out something spoopy's happening, he's like, I don't care how much it costs, I've got to have it.
I've got this museum and these sparkly pants. I have a mission.
So now the Dybbuk box resides in Las Vegas, Nevada at Zak Bagans' Haunted Museum, where he now keeps the box in a protective case. The box has been blamed for a black cloaked figure seen moving through closed doors in the room of which it's displayed at the Haunted Museum. And in order to see the box, you have to be over 18 and have signed a consent form, just like everything at his museum.
It's pretty cool, though, the way they have it in a little display case, and they've got the little prayer going. I mean, it really kind of puts you in the mood that something spooky there.
Yeah, I mean, it's questionable whether it's like a thing or not, but it does put you in the mood.
Yeah,
to, like,
the presentation, he kills it, just like everything else in that museum. Once again, if you have a chance to go to that museum, go.
So here's my favorite part of this entire story. We're going to talk about our favorite person in the entire planet.
Megabots?
Post Malone.
Oh, yeah. Recently, we got into this guy, and I never heard about him. But
interesting. And he has no reason to be this interesting, and I love him to pieces. I just love him to pieces.
He's pretty funny. That hot sauce video made me like him.
Yeah. So, Zak Bagans let his good old pal Posty in to see the Dybbuk box. When Post Malone went into the Haunted Museum, he was actually like drinking a beer the whole time, which I thought was pretty cool. You know, he's just chilling. He doesn't give a about no ghosts. Everybody thought that Post Malone was cursed afterward, though.
I heard that he had a lot of odd stuff happen to him.
We're about to discuss it. Zak stated that they heard what sounded like a little girl's voice and ran away from the exhibit. Then later they went back after everything had chilled down. He stated that he put his hand on the box, and then Post put his hand on Zak. And Zak stated he began crying and screaming, and that they had to physically remove him from the room. They went downstairs where Posty saw a shadow figure outside. The next day, Post sent Zak a picture of a huge bruise on his arm. After this, Post jet had to make an emergency landing after blowing out its left tires. He was in a serious car crash, and his old home was burglarized, and the new owner was pistol whipped while the burglars asked where Post was. So, I mean, that's a lot to have happened in such like a short amount of time.
It's pretty crazy.
After that happening. Zak also had planned to open up the Dybbuk box for his live show for the live Halloween episode.
Yeah, I watched all of that. Yeah.
He ended up lifting the protective case off of it and touched the box, claiming that his hand got hot. He went back and forth between not wanting Aaron to touch it and wanting Aaron to touch it.
Poor Aaron.
And then finally stated he didn't want to open it. At which point Aaron surprisingly stated he did want to touch it, which is very out of character for Aaron. Because Aaron is usually like, nah, dude, no, I'm out. Zak also spoke to a rabbi, and this is the part that Wes likes. The rabbi was supposed to seal the box back up and do a ritual on it after they opened it. And basically the rabbi discredited the whole thing, basically saying that he didn't believe that demons existed.
Yeah, that was sad. And old Bagans, he caught a lot of shit about not opening up that box, too.
Yeah. So not only can you see it, the Dybbuk box at the Haunted Museum, which we highly suggest that you go to. You can also see it on Zak Bagans' Haunted Possession show. And it also inspired a movie called The Possession, which came out in 2012, but I haven't seen.
Have to watch that.
Yeah.
Or sleep through it.
I was about to say, I literally wrote, no, I haven't seen it. We'll have to watch it someday if you'll stay awake.
Yeah.
So that was the Dybbuk box, guys.
That was pretty good. I like that, Keisha.
You're welcome, Wesley.
I just think it's interesting. I just don't know enough about Jewish demons or demons in general to know what I think about that.
Jewish demons.
Some would say my belly is full of Jewish demons.
Babe, you've got a whole lot going on there, and I just don't know where to even start.
Yeah.
Anytime anybody says the word Jewish, it reminds me of the movie Spaceballs, where they call her a Druish princess.
Oh, yeah. It's a good movie.
It's my favorite movie. I love that movie.
Can you see, is my computer still plugged in?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it working?
Yeah, it just went dark.
Is this thing on?
Yeah.
Good.
But, I don't know. I like what Bagans is doing there. He's getting all the cool, crazy stuff. I've seen where he bought that Ted Bundy stuff, and he just keeps Charles Manson stuff. He just keeps adding all kinds of odd things to the collection.
Yeah, we're going to have to go back soon.
Yeah.
See what all he's got since the last time we were there.
Yeah.
He's got Bela Lugosi's mirror. Do we discuss that?
I don't think so.
I mean, not on here, but like in person.
No, I don't remember that either.
As though we're not recording in person.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I am permanently sleep deprived.
We could probably do a whole episode on that museum, all the stuff in there.
Yeah?
But I like it like this better.
I like it like that.
Because honestly, I was so sleep deprived during that trip, I don't remember half the crap, so.
What are you discussing this week, my dear?
I'm going to do the story of George Stinney. I've talked about this a little bit before, because we've done some other stories about unjust executions. I mean, that's not really a spoiler. A lot of people, this is a pretty well-known case.
Is it Stinney or Steiny?
Could be Steiny, could be Stinney. I've heard it pronounced both ways.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
I'm going to call him Steiny, just because that's the way I do things.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's how you're feeling at this moment?
Yeah. But
felt cute. NK.
Yeah.
Might delete later.
Such a good selfie.
Okay, go.
But George Stinney was born October. I don't know what day he was born in October. He was just born in October.
Ah, frick. He was born in October
I almost said fuck. He was born October 1929. He could have actually been born October 19th in 1929. But I don't know that.
I don't know what you just said.
Yeah.
There were so many numbers.
This is called Shallots of Crown Royal. It's an artistic painting by me.
Did you say shallots
of
Crown Royal? It's like shallots of garlic, but you turn it into Crown Royals.
I'm going to start that whole sentence over like a normal person would edit all the rest of that out, but I'm just going to keep it all.
He's going to let y'all experience that because you're blessed. You are # blessed.
This is almost a live show. You don't understand how little I do stuff to this show.
now that he's decided against editing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But George Stinney was born in October of 1929 in Alcula, South Carolina.
Alcula.
I know. It sounds like a nice place.
It just sounds like a fun
Spoiler alert,
place
it's
to
not.
say. It's not. You know, they rarely are.
Yeah.
You said South Carolina?
Yeah.
At least it wasn't Florida.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know if Myrtle Beach is in North or South Carolina. Or if it's even in Carolina.
Myrtle Beach I think Myrtle Beach is in Florida, man.
I don't think so, Keisha. God, these people hate us tonight. I guarantee you that.
Myrtle Beach. It's in South Carolina.
Oh,
Look, I'm a dummy.
I thought it was in South Carolina.
Look at you being smart.
But anyway, they have a beach there, so that's something. But George was a 14-year-old boy who lived with his father, George Stinney Sr., his mother, Amy, and his 2 brothers and 2 sisters. George Sr. worked at the town sawmill, and the family lived in housing provided by his father's employer. So they kind of lived on housing that the mill provided.
So kind of like they worked at the mill and they didn't get paid as much, but they got to live in like the housing.
Yeah, kind of like farmers used to do around here. They would provide housing for the employees. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Alcula was a small working class mill town where the white and black neighborhoods were separated by railroad tracks. So since George and his family were black, they were all on one side of the tracks. They all went to one church, one school, and shopped at the same places. And the white people all went to another church, another school. But they all worked together, so I thought that was interesting. But,
did they have like separate parts of the factory though?
I don't know. They may have.
Huh. I mean, because if they were segregated, I don't know how far that segregation went.
I figure at that time,
South.
They probably just gave the black people the really crappy jobs.
True. Yeah.
Which I don't know. Maybe they just worked side by side.
Which then again, I mean, it depends on what kind of racism was rampant in that area at the time too. Because I mean, they could have been black people and Irish people, or black people and Mexicans, or there's a lot that went on back in the past.
Yeah. They said that members of the town rarely interacted with members of the other race, so it might have been...
It was like hella segregated.
Yeah. But George's sister said he was a smart kid and very artistic. They said that the family had a good life and lived in a small house. They didn't have a lot of money, but the house was full of love. So we've heard that a lot in the past, too. What are you giggling about? What'd I say?
Nothing. I was just making faces at you. I just realized that I could do that.
Oh, yeah, we're across from each other now.
You said full of love, and I just started making kissy faces.
Yeah. Oh. But I think this is important here because his sister here says that he was a smart kid and artistic, but the detectives later try to paint him as somebody that was illiterate. So it's important to remember that.
Well, and also at that time, I mean, he could have been a very smart person, but racism was so rampant that, of course, white cops would have said he was dumb, for starters. Yeah. Also, what's the level of education that he's getting in comparison to the white kids?
Yeah, it's true.
So, I mean, he could be really smart for the education that he was getting. I mean, he could have, read every book that he possibly have gotten, done what he could have done, but still not known some of the words that the white people knew.
Yeah.
And they thought that he was dumb as a result.
But the important thing...
Or not had good handwriting, or,
That's what I think the important thing to take away from that quote by her was that he did know how to read and write. Mm-hmm. So just remember that for later.
Okay. Sorry, I'm getting way too into that.
Oh, no. I mean, it's cool. I mean, it kind of builds a case for him being a human and having a brain and being able to use it. So
Yeah.
But George, who was 14, and his sister were resting in a pasture of a farm after feeding the cows when 2 white girls rode up on bicycles. They were Brittany Binnicker, who was 11, and Mary Thames. She was 8. They were out hunting for maypops. Maypops are kind of like passion fruit. It's a fruit that grows wild and people eat them and use them for all kinds of little interesting things. Kind of like we have honeysuckles.
Okay.
But,
I didn't know. Okay.
yeah, I guess if you're not from the South, you probably Google maypops and honeysuckles, because around here we just like pick flowers and suck on them.
That's so awkward, too, as an adult, thinking about the fact that we used to do that as kids.
Yeah, quite a bit, really.
Please tell me you don't do that now that you're an adult.
The last time I done it was a couple years ago when I was riding my bike and I drove by some honeysuckles and I just had to stop and
Okay,
suck
a couple
on
years ago, like, you knew me at this point?
them.
Or, like,
Longer than that then, because I haven't rode a bike since I knew you.
I was about to say.
Since I met you, I just eat a lot of food.
Within the past 5 years?
Yeah. So, yeah. I bet I don't even know how to ride a bike anymore, Keisha.
I feel like I do, but I'm a little top heavy with these tatas, so I probably fall over.
This is the circumcision on boob episode.
Circumcision? You're not circumcising my boobs, sir. You're not getting near those things with a knife. No.
I like your boobies.
Thanks. I do too. I'm quite fond of them.
But
Keep me from falling over.
the two girls asked George and his sister if they'd seen any of the maypops around the farm, and George and his sister said no. The two girls said that there are usually some growing around the railroad tracks by the mill, and the girls took off biking towards them.
Okay, I'm just going to tell you right now, I don't trust these little girls.
You don't think so?
White girls during racism, like the time of racism, I don't trust them.
Well, that's
Okay, I'm
important.
sorry. I am a white girl, and I don't trust white girls right now.
Well, I mean, that's important. That's a good viewpoint to have.
We're all sassy as hell. Listen.
Y'all are a sassy bunch. The George and his sister went home, and the two girls, they never returned home that night.
Wait, what?
The two girls on the bicycles, they never returned home that night.
That's stressful.
They said the parents were frantic.
Of course.
They waited a few hours, and then a massive search party was organized by members of the community and the mill. They said that all the members of the churches, the schools, and everybody that worked at the local mill, including the white people and the black people, they all came together to search for these girls, including George's father. So everybody in town was working together to try to find these girls. At first they thought these girls might have got lost out in the woods around town because it was a logging community, so they thought they could have got lost in the woods.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, though.
So they're canvassing the area, and about 7:30 the next day, the search party finds the bikes of one of the girls submerged in water in a ditch. So after some more searching in the ditch, they found the girls' bodies.
Jeez.
Yeah. They were found in a ditch by the train tracks near the mill. Both of the girls had suffered massive head wounds.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Poor babies. I'm sorry I called them sassy.
The word had gotten to the police that George and his sister had last seen the girls alive, and neighbors put George in the area near where the girls were found. So police went to George's house to question him.
Of course.
Which, I mean, if you don't have a lot of information,
that makes sense.
you always follow it back, and you're going to talk to you want to know who's seen them to build a timeline.
But also, during that time with racism,
yeah,
I don't know that I trust it.
Yeah, it's good not to. The police were interested in George because he had said the girls were going to be down by the tracks where the bodies were found.
Yeah.
So George was taken to the police station for questioning. And they did this without his parents being there or a lawyer being there. They said several of the officers locked him in a room with no witnesses. So he was locked in this small interrogation room with just the police officers. They even kind of bribed him with ice cream and said he'd get ice cream once this interview was over.
Wasn't he like, what, 14?
Yeah, he was 14.
Okay. You were locking a kid without representation in a room with a cop. He's probably terrified because that cop is white and he knows he's black. Telling him he can have ice cream as soon as it's done if you tell me what I want to know.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't like it.
He was an impressionable kid. I mean, any kid that age is either going to respect and love cops or be terrified of cops.
I mean, what? That's the youngest boy's age.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Of our kids. Our cousins. You put him in a room with a cop, now, him knowing most of the cops in our town, and he would still be terrified.
Yeah, it'd be scary.
I mean, he would be mortified. He'd say whatever you told him to say.
Yeah, it'd be easy to get a confession out of him.
Yeah.
They could coerce him into saying whatever he wanted.
Oh, yeah.
So guess what? Within an hour, a deputy announced that George had confessed to the crime.
Oh, my God.
Police then released a statement to the community.
Okay, but also, did he actually say it, or are they saying that he said it?
That is a good question.
Yeah.
Because that is unknown to this day.
Yeah. I mean, because if you have a white, older gentleman in a time of rampant racism and a 14-year-old boy who is black, it's my word against his.
And it still is.
Oh, my God.
We'll get into that a little bit more
sorry.
in a little bit. No, I mean, it's
I get
it's
so
important.
into this stuff.
But police released a statement to the community that said, I was notified that the bodies had been found. I went down to where the bodies were at. I found Mary Emma. She was right at the edge of the ditch with 4 or 5 wounds on her head. On the other side of the ditch was the Binnicker girl. They were laying she was also laying with 4 or 5 wounds on her head. The bicycles were beside the girl. Said, by the information I received, I arrested a boy named George Stinney. He then made a confession and told me where a piece of iron about 15 inches long were at and where he put it.
Oh, my God.
Said he put the piece of iron in a ditch about 6 feet from the bicycles. So, later that day, George voluntarily led the police to the crime scene a short distance away and led them to the murder weapon. It was a large railroad spike about 14 inches long.
That is terrifying.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's kind of odd.
I don't trust it.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about it so far. But after this statement and the confession and them having George lead them to the murder weapon, the town was in outrage. The mill workers especially, since both the girls' family, they worked at the mill, and George's family worked at the mill. Mm-hmm. So, as more details came out, the more people got angry.
I'm sure it just tore the town in half.
Yeah.
Because it made the differences that much more obvious.
Well, actually, most of the town gathered together at the jail to form a lynch mob. So bad that the sheriff had to take George out of that jail to a different county just to keep him from being lynched.
Holy crap.
Yeah. So they were going to take justice in their own hands.
Oh, my God.
It all came to a boiling point when the police leaked that George told them that he killed the girl because he wanted to have sex with the older girl. So that pretty much put everything at a boiling point.
Which, again, I don't feel like he probably said that.
Yeah, I don't either.
Because, okay, for starters, you're 14. Why would you say something like that?
Yeah.
Whether you wanted to do it or not.
I would say at 16 or so, the hormones would be really bad.
At 14, you're that awkward, anxious, like, I don't know what to do with my hands. I still giggle when I hold someone's hand, or when they look at me, or when I get a kiss on the cheek.
Especially at that time.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I could more likely see a 14-year-old doing that.
Yeah, but
still, it's a stretch.
Still, it's a stretch.
But at that point, it was so bad that George's family had to leave town due to fear of lynchings. His father was fired from his job, and they were kicked out of the company housing. So at this point, they were completely broke with nowhere to stay.
Of course.
And it was less than a month after his arrest that he went to trial. The trial started, at 2:30 in the afternoon.
Jesus.
And it was thought that since George already confessed to the police, there's a general feeling with the town that the trial was only a formal requirement for sentencing.
Seriously?
Yeah. And since all these angry residents had already ran the family out of town, George had nobody to support him in court.
Okay, for starters, I thought you were going to say angry rednecks.
Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't be wrong, but...
Sorry for taking that down a peg. But absolutely nobody to support him?
Yeah, so he's a 14-year-old kid in...
court, basically by himself.
He's been in jail for a month without seeing his family.
That's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, it would not hold up today.
No.
For sure.
12 white jurors were selected at the time. At that time, only registered voters could be selected for jury, and only whites could vote. So, and
white males too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because they didn't give you women a right to vote yet either.
Us women.
Yeah.
Thanks.
International
Women's Day. Yeah, we're a little late, but we got it. Go us.
Hey, you can vote now and drive. Yeah. And you can wear
pants.
Yeah.
Oh, we both said something about butts.
Butts.
Pants go on your butt.
They do.
Okay.
The trial started off with prosecutors reading 2 different confessions, because apparently they found another one somewhere.
So 2 separate confessions from the same day, because obviously he's not,
Yeah.
I was going to say confessional, but that's a church thing.
It almost seems like to me the police wrote one confession and then lost it, and then wrote another one and then found it, and was like, well, I guess we should just submit both of them.
At least we'll have him if we say both. Yeah.
According to the first confession, George said that he was near his home when the oldest girl came along and asked him where she could fix some flowers. As he attempted to show the girls where the flowers grew. Girls! Sound like a wolf howling.
You reminded me of the dude from Despicable Me when he says girls. Girls. Sorry,
I is a redneck.
Back to normal time now. Sorry, I can't function.
But she asked him where he could pick some flowers, and he said he'd show her. As he attempted to show them the flowers, the younger girl accidentally fell in a ditch. And as he tried to help her out, Mary got mad and attacked him. So he admitted to hitting the girls in self-defense, which is completely dumb. But I could see the cops saying, well, George, just tell us why you did it. Did they hurt you? Or trying to talk him into something that sounded better.
Yeah.
If you're a fan of 48 Hours TV show, they do that quite a bit. It's like they try to get a confession out of them.
Emotionally manipulate them.
It's like, well, were you defending yourself?
Their already high emotions. To get, Okay, but this dude was like 14. Super tiny. He's not like the kids that we have nowadays who are like football stars who are in the gym for hours a day.
Yeah, he's 5'1", weighed 80 pounds, so he's small for his age.
Yeah. I feel like there's probably very little evidence that he physically could do this.
Yeah.
But you continue. I'm just going to be on my soapbox over here.
It's okay.
You like it when I get sassy about this?
Like a sassy little black lady over there.
I'm just a sassy little white lady with a black lady's name. Listen, my parents really liked The Cosby Show. It was the 90s. It was a simpler time.
But the second statement that police entered in said that he told police that he was home when he saw the girls go by. He stated that he followed the girls into the woods and he was interested in the older one. In order to have her by herself, he had to kill the small one first by hitting her with a railroad spike. Then the older one seen that and attempted to run away. He chased her down, caught her, then continued sexual advances towards her, then battered her with a railroad spike.
Lord Jesus.
No written version of this confession exists.
Of course not.
Yeah, there's no record of it. And police said that George was illiterate.
Illiterate.
Yeah. Like I am.
Illiterate.
Yeah. Said he couldn't read or write. Illegitimate. For all you other illiterate people out there.
Peeper. Yeah. All of you peeper who are illiterate.
Yeah. The only versions of the confession that exist are from the sheriff. So,
Who made it himself.
According to the deputy, Stinney had been successful in killing both at once because the way he did the blows, they said that it was like a hammer-sized spike that caused instant unconsciousness and blunt trauma to the head. It said it shattered their skulls in at least 4 or 5 pieces.
Lord Jesus.
Yeah.
So it would have taken
strength.
More strength than that 80-pound little boy probably had.
Yeah, there's a lot of bullshit in this story.
Yeah.
According to the report by the medical examiner, the wounds had been inflicted by a blunt instrument with a round head about the size of a hammer. Both girls' skulls were punctured. The medical examiner said the girls had not been sexually assaulted, and their hymens were intact. The medical examiner reported that the genitalia of the older girl was slightly bruised. But they said nothing indicated that they had been raped. But the prosecutors were able to, at that time, to say that admit the possibility of rape into evidence.
Okay, for starters, forensics was crap back then. Also, your body bruises after death in weird ways. Like, she could have been stepped on before they found her.
Yeah, she was in a ditch. So.
Like, she could have had a log thrown on her. Like, weird stuff happens. I want to see where all of her bruises were.
Yeah.
I just don't trust it.
Yeah, I don't. It's odd.
And it's not
really
that I'm
odd.
saying that this little boy is like the best thing in the world. I just don't believe that this little girl or these little girls got their actual justice.
Yeah,
I don't trust it.
I don't either, really. But also, I don't know. It's strange. When I first started researching this, I just thought George completely got railroaded. But now I'm really on the fence.
Okay, you continue, and I'll see where I'm at the end.
George had a court-appointed lawyer who was a 30-year-old guy who was also running for a state tax collector's job. They said he wasn't really a criminal defense lawyer. He was just the guy in the town that took the job.
Only person who was willing to take it because he was going to be the tax collector and people were going to hate him anyway. Yeah. So why not?
During the
Make
trial,
it a little bit better.
He didn't cross-examine any witnesses. He didn't challenge the police officers who testified that Stinney was the murderer. He did not even dispute the confessions.
My God.
Or that there was 2 confessions. He didn't even bring that up.
So he basically was like, vote for me for tax collector.
Yeah, I'm the lawyer that got this kid electrocuted.
Yeah.
Vote for me. But his defense was reported, and this is kind of important in a little bit. His defense was to claim that Stinney was too young to be held responsible for the crimes because he was 14-year-old.
I mean, yeah, but still.
This is going to come back to haunt us, his own attorney, in a minute.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
In retaliation for that remark in court, the prosecution introduced Stinney's birth certificate, which indicated that he was born on October 21st, 1929, and under South Carolina law, at that time, anyone who was over the age of 14 could be tried as an adult.
Seriously?
Yeah, so his own lawyer got him where he could be tried as an adult.
Jesus Christ, Superstar.
I guess that's one of those things where paperwork really matters.
Yeah. You're freaking 14 and you're tried as an adult?
Now they've raised it to 16 in the U.S. That's what I can find.
But, like, I feel like at 16 you're making, like, sound decisions. Like, you know what the hell you're doing.
I was still pretty dumb at 16, so.
I mean, no, you're dumb. You're real dumb at 16. I was real dumb at 16. But you know the difference between good and bad. And you are more than able to realize, hey, I should not do this crap.
Yeah. Other than the testimony of the 3 cops, the prosecutors called just 3 witnesses, pretty much. A reverend and the 2 doctors who performed the autopsies. They said George was the doctors who did the autopsies.
No, why did they call a reverend?
Because he's the one that found the bodies in the search party.
Okay. That's why I was confused.
Yeah. He's the one that actually found the girls in the ditch.
At least hopefully he prayed over them.
Yeah. They said George was calm through the trial. They gave the closing arguments at 4:30. Remember, the trial started at 2:30. So
Jesus, 2 hours.
Yeah. The jury went to deliberate just before 5 and came back with a guilty verdict 10 minutes later.
10 minutes?
Yeah.
That poor baby.
George was convicted of capital murder. The judge showed no mercy, and George was sentenced to die in the electric chair.
Oh my God.
The entire proceeding against George, including jury selection, just took that one day in court, the 2.5 hours.
Oh my God.
Official court records are less than 24 pages for the whole trial, including the arrest warrants. There are no transcripts of the trial, and no appeal was filed.
Jesus.
When they were asked why there was no appeal filed, his attorney replied that the Stinney family had no money to pay.
Well, of course not.
Yeah.
Because they were ran out of their hometown.
Stinney's family and his church appealed to the governor, Johnson, for clemency. Johnson replied in something that will make your skin crawl. It may be interesting for you to know that Stinney killed the smaller girl to rape the larger one. Then he killed the larger girl and raped her dead body. 20 minutes later, he returned to rape her again. But she was too cold. He admitted all of this himself. George never said that. The police said he never said that. They don't know where the governor got that at. And it was never proved that he raped any of the girls. So the governor was completely talking out of his ass.
And the governor was a creep.
Yeah, that's creepy as hell.
Like, excuse me, don't talk about young kids like that. Don't be disgusting.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Thinking about this in your spare time? Calm it down, sir.
But George was sent to the South Carolina Penitentiary in Columbia, South Carolina. But I couldn't find any information on his last meal or his last words other than George was pretty much teary-eyed and completely stressed out that last day.
Well, of course. I'm sure he was in shock.
How do you process that?
At 14, especially.
They said that George walked to the execution chamber with a Bible under his arm. They said he was only 5'1" and barely weighed 90 pounds.
Jesus.
This proved to be difficult to the executioners because he was too small to strap into the electric chair.
Oh.
The chair was designed for grown adults, so the straps were too small, so they actually had to kind of loop the straps and just tie him into it. Well, that didn't work at first. They had to put books into the seat of the electric chair to get him up to height to put the head harness on him. And some of the sources say they actually used the Bible that he brought in to set him on.
That is the worst.
Yeah. The adult-sized face mask also didn't fit George.
Oh.
So after the electrocution began, the face mask actually fell off of him, and witnesses seen George teary-eyed crying with his face getting burned off because this thing was kind of rocking back and forth.
Yeah,
it wasn't making a good connection.
No.
So it really was a pretty painful death for little George.
Yeah, poor baby.
And they said that he was declared dead within 4 minutes. The total time between when he was arrested for the murder and his execution was 83 days.
That is insane to me.
There's a movie about this called 83 Days, which isn't any good, but you can watch it. But
I mean, I won't, because you
not
won't
worth
watch
watching.
it.
Yeah.
I don't watch anything without you, pretty much.
The family didn't see him from arrest until his execution. The last time they seen him alive was when he was arrested. And now he was pretty much at an open casket funeral. And they said he was completely disfigured and scarred from the electrocution. He said his sister said it was something that will always be in her memory. He was so scarred. When they took him away, he was crying. And when I seen him this time, his face was burned. She said it was something I'll never forget.
That must have been mortifying for his entire family.
Yeah.
I mean, that alone can give you, like, post-traumatic stress.
Years later, the case was reopened due to outrage from George's family, just because they wanted somebody to take a second look at it.
Yeah.
The new attorney said he has no doubt this case was an injustice. You can't try a general session level case in 2 hours. The original attorney would have had an ethical obligation to appeal the case. He would have had an ethical obligation to cross-examine the witnesses, but he didn't do either of those. The defense attorney obviously didn't know what he was. He wasn't a criminal lawyer. He was just someone appointed. He argued that you couldn't execute George because he was 14. But at the time, 14 was considered an adult, so he actually argued the wrong closing argument, which would have been enough for a mistrial
Yeah.
in itself. So, because there wasn't a whole lot of evidence left, because it was 70 years later when they did this, it made getting any evidence pretty much difficult. They said that a person in a town actually confessed in a deathbed confession he did the crime, but I couldn't find anything to back that up.
Yeah.
But on December 17, 2014, his conviction was vacated. Because the circuit judge ruled that he had not been given a fair trial, he had no effective defense and his Sixth Amendment rights had been violated. The judgment noted that while he may be guilty of the crime, the prosecution and trial were flawed, and ruled that his confession was coerced and thus inadmissible in court. She also found the punishment of the 14-year-old was cruel and unusual. So,
well, yeah. I mean, you have literally no actual evidence. You don't have a written confession. You don't have, I mean, obviously you didn't have, like, it on video at the time. But you don't have anything saying he did it. He didn't say he did it in court. You have no real actual evidence.
Yeah, George didn't really say anything in court. He just sat there and let it. But he was 14, so.
Yeah, he was probably terrified that they were going to murder him if he said something.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a little black boy in a white town.
Yeah, I mean, the cops, I mean, you still, like the West Memphis Three, Jesse Misskelley, they coerced a confession out of him, and he was older than George, so.
Yeah.
I mean, this still happens.
He's absolutely nuts to me.
I still don't know if George did it. I really don't think that he did it, just because I don't think he would have the strength to kill those two young girls.
Yeah.
And dispose of their bodies, and then go home and act like nothing happened.
I don't think that a child age 14 has the mental capacity. Maybe they do. People are messed up. But I don't think they would have the mental capacity to pretend like nothing happened.
Yeah.
I feel like at 14 you're still... What is it called? You're not grown up enough. You've not matured enough.
Yeah.
I don't even have that mental strength. Emotional strength. Like, if I do something and you call me out on it, I cry immediately.
It's pretty crazy. And I don't know. I really think that's too young to execute anyway. I mean, he was 14.
I mean, make the dude serve a long sentence.
If they would have done that, the things in the country might have cleared up enough where he could actually got out.
Yeah.
Instead of destroying his entire life and his family.
Yeah.
In 83 days. That's
way too quick.
Just like Lena Baker, it's just a rush to judgment because he was black and they needed a scapegoat. Mm-hmm. They pinned it on the first kid or anyone that knew anything about it.
Be an easy out.
Yeah.
Easy target. Okay, so are we going to discuss possible other theories here? Because I have one.
Okay.
Okay, so here's the situation. I have a feeling that we weren't going to discuss this one. This wasn't something that you had intended. But what if her dad did it?
Oh, the girl's dad?
Yeah.
That's possible.
Because what if the dad had gotten caught trying to molest his daughter, sent them away because he was mad, and then went out and found them and knew he had an easy target because of this little black boy?
Yeah. It's possible.
I mean, that day and time, I would believe it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It makes me think that...
I mean, I'm not trying to pin it on anybody, but... I mean, that's the one that would come out to me as... Like, this is something that has happened in the past and could have been what happened here.
It could have been. Something I was thinking, since it was on the tracks, it could have been a vagrant or something riding a train, hopped off, and then...
Yeah.
Because it was near that mill, I'm sure they had people coming and going all the time.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was just thinking, like... Her dad is a white man. So he probably could have been in with the cops, been friends with cops, been friends with people, you know, paid them off to get a confession. But also, I mean, what if it was somebody who was a cop or who knew her dad?
Yeah.
All of this. I mean, there are so many different options.
It could be. I mean, that's an ideal. I mean, that's definitely...
that are actually adults who could have pinned it on him and could have easily killed these children because they had the strength because they were adults.
I just don't see a 14-year-old kid being able to kill 2 teenage girls like that.
And not...
or 2 young girls, not teenagers.
Well, one of them was a teenager and the other one was...
11 and 8.
Preteen. Yeah, no. I don't see that.
Because kids are real squirrely. I mean, they're really just... they're
just
hard to get a hold of.
It's
my favorite word.
Well, and I feel like he would have came home with blood all over him.
Yeah.
You know, his parents would have said something.
There would have been trails of blood around.
Yeah. He probably would have come home emotionally, like, crying or, like, not talking. His parents would have noticed that he wasn't like he should have been.
Yeah. I agree.
Parents would have been like, what just happened to you? Because you look like you have the flu. What is wrong?
There's so much to the story, like his confession. They said he didn't write a confession because he was illiterate, but his sister said he was smart and artistic, so they just completely lied just to cover their own asses. So it seems like I have no clue what happened here.
This is absolutely nuts, y'all. Send us your conspiracy theories about this, because we want to know.
A part of me almost thinks that he may have done it, but not enough to believe that he actually did it. I think he was just an easy target. They needed somebody to calm the citizens down, and George was the one.
That is just absolutely nuts to me. I don't understand.
Yeah, but thanks everybody for listening. Our buddies in New York and everywhere else that's listening, thanks. Australia, California.
Did we have a Costa Rica?
Where was that? It was Costa Rica and Denmark was the 2 new ones I noticed.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thanks, guys. We like y'all. We have more of Canada than we did. Hi, my Canadian friends. I like you. We have more Mexico.
Still nothing in the Great Plains, so I was really hoping Charlie Starkweather would have got some North Dakota, South Dakota, and Nebraska people, but didn't do anything.
We don't have any Montana.
No, I guess they probably don't even have internet up there, so.
They do. They've got the interwebs. What else are they doing with their lives?
A lot of porn, I guess. I don't know. Maybe they don't like
making it or watching it.
Both.
Oh, Lord, y'all. Okay. So.
I guess that's
that on that.
Yeah.
Find us on our Instagram at Tequila and Terror Podcast or no podcast, just at Tequila and Terror.
Oh man, don't put me in a spot like that.
Let me look at our Instagram real quick. I'm gonna do our social media at Tequila and Terror Podcast. We are on Facebook at Tequila and Terror Podcast. Email me personally, not Wes, at Tequila and Terror Podcast at Gmail. No, Tequila and Terror at gmail.com. No podcast on that one. Just Tequila and Terror. We're on Twitter at Tequila_Terror.
Yeah, sounds
Send
good.
us love. Send us suggestions.
Yeah, if you go to tequilaandterror.com and see our website that looks like it was built in the 1990s.
Built by a
There's
child.
little buttons up there that you can click that will take you to all these places.
The child's name is Wes.
The most important thing, I think, though, is that you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify, and share us with your friends, or tell your friends to listen to us, even if you don't follow us on social media.
Send them links.
I don't really do social media either.
Have a Tequila and Terror podcast themed birthday party.
Yeah, we'll show up and drink booze and tell stories to all the little kids
Did you say
about
and
serial
bring
killers.
booze or if there's booze?
If there's booze.
I was thinking like grown up.
I was thinking like
Party.
a 5-year-old's birthday would show up and tell serial killer stories.
No.
We'll do your bar mitzvahs and birthdays.
I will tell your children some spoopy ghost stories. I'll just make them child appropriate.
Did you say spoopy?
I've said spoopy like 7 times in this episode.
Oh.
Spoopy. I actually said it before we even started recording too.
Shows you how much I pay attention.
And it's very little.
Yeah.
Very little.
I'm still full of catfish.
You're full of something.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Okay, y'all.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. And
bye.
We will see you next week. Meow.